Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. It's Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. On the mend, still feeling a little bit under the weather. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I feel like I probably got about 20 gallons of congestion still stuck in my head here. So I don't know. I took a nap to kind of reinvigorate myself before the stream, and excited to talk about a big week of racing here. I feel like we have to bring Mr. Saratoga himself in first here, Mr. Mark Capitan. It's Travers week. I know you're super excited because your boy Charge It is going to be running.
Except for, no, I mean it's poor Charge It in his foot, and he's going to run in the Pennsylvania Derby. Does that mean I need to go down to Parks to watch a horse race now? Because that just, no one goes to Parks. Like, no.
One man who I know loves to bet Parks, Mr. Caleb Knight, the king of Parks himself.
I do like me some Parks. Yeah, fun week. Feels like a quick turnaround after the long week that we were all in Saratoga last week. But ready to look at Travers.
All of us. But luckily, it's funny. They say misery loves company, and I didn't find this out until today. But another person who felt misery similar to mine, Matthew DeSantis, Mr. Field the Menace.
Yeah.
Another COVID Saratoga member of the Miss Saratoga this year due to COVID team here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I was thinking maybe we could play some turf races at Parks, but maybe they also got canceled. I'm actually going to the Pennsylvania Derby. So, Mark, I'll see you there. I'll save you a seat.
Okay, I'll see you then.
No, thank you so much for having me on, guys. Really a pleasure to join you all, and can't wait to talk about a huge week up in Saratoga.
Yeah, this is also going to be the first drink of alcohol I've had in probably about 2 weeks. So I'm going to be interested to see how this tastes. Caleb, I think you've only had, I know you, after one time you had COVID. I don't remember if you had it twice, Caleb, but I remember there was a bottle. Was it 1910?
It was
Old Forester 1910? Yeah.
Right.
And you're like, this was just like such awful whiskey. And I went to Old Forester and I actually brought back a bottle of 1910. And I'm like, Caleb, you got to try this. It's delicious. He's like, it was awful, but I also drank it right after I had COVID, so maybe I need to give it a second chance.
Yeah, it'll definitely mess with your taste. I'm curious to see what you think.
Yeah, I just got regular Buffalo Trace, so at least like I've had enough of this that I know what it's supposed to taste like. I also just ate an ice cream sandwich because if there's one thing I do know is the best thing to do for your voice is to cover it in any type of milk product. My college voice teacher always taught me that. And that's absolutely not what you're supposed to do. I actually remember one time we had rehearsal for like our men's choir right after lunch. And one of the guys just showed up literally with like a 16 ounce of chocolate milk to rehearsal. And she literally just turns to him and goes, "What in the world is wrong with you?" So, yeah, hopefully, I don't know. Maybe it'll help loosen some stuff up here. But
was Ron Burgundy in your choir? Like, was that?
Well, milk was definitely a bad choice. So that probably would have made a lot of sense here. It looks like
I got that reference, Josh.
Well, hey, when I was in college, I saw a lot of movies. I just haven't watched a movie really since after like, I don't know, when Moneyball came out. Charles B here saying COVID super spreader. Yeah, it's been, it's funny because I feel like in the past month I've known more people get COVID than I think I did like the entire time before. Mark, what's going on? You okay, Mark?
I'm good.
You like had like you had your head in your hands Like it was very dramatic. Like I thought
Oh, sorry,
you were watching
I
this.
wasn't going dramatic. No.
I thought you were watching this Del Mar race because what horse did I bet here? Did I bet this 2? I don't
But
even know.
whatever
Yeah, I
you
bet
bet,
this
we
2.
should all tail it, given the day you've been having. Jeez, man.
Yeah, I've made some of it back, but yeah, my horse is gonna finish dead last, so no one cares about
Some of
Del
it.
Mar.
From what I saw, you got a nice little, Travis bankroll lined up.
Yeah,
Just on
I
that
did.
one freaking double you hit.
I did collect a nice little double with your boy Morley and JJ there, so that helped. That helped things quite a bit.
So well, but I am not complaining about it.
That's true, but yeah, it looks like Charles B saying we're not the only ones that got it. The jockey colony has it at Saratoga. Yeah, there was a lot of talk about a lot of people being sick this last week there at Saratoga. So
rumor is that Jose Gomez tested positive and Rosario was
Yeah.
sick but tested negative. So take that for what it's worth.
And it also looks like Kendrick may have tested positive.
Oh, geez.
So all got it from Gaffney's.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, looking at the card for Saturday, it could really change the complexion of a few races. A couple jocks, see who gets the pickup mounts. You're going to have some non-normal Saratoga jocks that are, jocks who don't have, are probably going to get a much higher quality mounts than they normally get. So it could be a little interesting.
Speaking of just interesting jocks, Matthew, have you gotten a chance to get out to Colonial at all?
I've not. I'm actually planning on heading down there for the Virginia Derby coming up the day after Labor Day. And so I didn't make it down there this year. I was down there twice for last year's meet and love heading down there, and always fun hanging out with Jessica Paquette or just seeing that track as well. That turf track's just so much fun. Pays off really well, too, a lot of times. So that's an interesting jockey colony as well. Karamanos going long on the turf just seems to be an automatic cha-ching. So really,
that's pretty local to you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 2 hours away. So I'm in Northern Virginia, outside of DC, and that's in the middle of nowhere outside of Richmond. And it's in New Kent. And so the one thing I can tell you is there's a good pizza place next to the Exxon station before you get into Colonial, and that's kind of when you're close to the tracks. So it's fun place.
Yeah, it's definitely in the middle of nowhere. Like there are no like hotels to stay at there. Like you can't go there and stay. You have to drive an hour to get to a hotel. Yeah, we have offices in Charlottesville, and I've always been like, oh, I'll go down and commute. And you're like, wait a second, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing near that track.
No, there really isn't. But it's a fun track, and so I'll be down there, like I said, for Virginia Derby Day, which is the Tuesday after Labor Day. So looking forward to that.
I was just saying, clearly, Josh, that is a track that they know how to grow grass at, unlike some
unlike
track.
Churchill Downs. I mean, like
yeah.
that's just turning into comedy at this point. Like the bluegrass state having trouble growing grass. Like who would have thought?
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say I like it because my boy Santon, who I love, apparently loves that. If we wouldn't even call it turf, the chill. So he's been making me some money at Churchill, but yeah, it's been rough to watch.
Yeah, I mean, they're even giving Gulfstream Durf a run for its money. I mean, that's some real Durf that they got in at Churchill.
I think the phrase I heard was churf. Just the churf.
Churf.
Yeah, the churf.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes. Yes, our good friend Aragona uses churf. Yes.
Oh man. Well, speaking of, at least we'll have real grass here in at good old Saratoga. But I figure we'll kind of touch on all the stakes races here for Saturday. I feel like some of these are pretty quick to kind of get in and out of. And then we'll touch race 4 and 5 here, and then I kind of figure we'll do that late pick or that pick 5. I think it's a middle pick 5 technically, starting race 7 that ends in the Travers here. So we will get one extra non-stakes race here, but let's take a look here. Race 4. Going to be going a mile 16th on the turf, the Ballston Spa for fillies and mares, 4-year-old and up. You have an even money favorite here in the 5 technical analysis. Chad Brown sends out to 2 more with Lamista and Fluffy Stocks, and then you get our Flash Drive and High Opinion in here. Matthew, as our guest, I will let you go first. Who do you like here?
Yeah, I mean, technical analysis is the even money favorite for a reason, but I think if you're going to try to attack some at a price, I actually kind of like Fluffy Socks a little bit. This is a horse there. It's what's interesting is this is a turf race where there's a lot of horses that actually don't display a stunning turn of foot. I mean, Lamista has good late speed figures, but doesn't really pass a lot of horses and really hasn't made up a lot of ground last few times out. And so Fluffy Socks at least has demonstrated that ability to pass horses and come from off the pace. 5-horse turf field is always a little bit tough to get a feel for. I think sometimes just in terms of the pace, we've bemoaned that quite a bit in terms of the New York turf race paces up there and kind of what that's going to look like. So you never know what you're going to be. And obviously, if technical analysis goes out and runs 25-50 on the front end, we'll see what ends up happening. But I do like Fluffy Socks. And then I also kind of like High Opinion. I think at 8-1 on the inside, I think this is a horse that I will definitely be using in kind of verticals. A horse that just, I think if it can replicate that effort and the same type of trip it had actually at the Begay or the race 2 back as well, where it can just kind of stay close. If it can stay second, third, and sitting behind technical analysis, kind of like that spot as a horse that's 5 for 5 in the money at this distance. So might try to, include High Opinion to add a little bit of value to a ticket there in the 4th race.
Yeah, I actually kind of, I was kind of going back and forth between technical analysis and actually our flash drive. I think I'm going to lean heavy on our flash drive here. I know there's 3 Chad Browns in this race, and usually when that happens, one of them wins, but especially in the 5-horse field. But I kind of like our flash drive here as kind of this outsider. Came in and won a restricted race last time out at a mile. Ran a really nice figure at the Nassau, even though she ran 3rd by a length there. And I just kind of feel like, she's starting to kind of round into form. And if you kind of look in her PPs last year, it really seemed that she started to hit her stride like later in the year. So I kind of see her maybe taking a step forward here. And I really like our flash drive in here. I think you're going to get a nice price because it's not trained by someone named Chad Brown. I don't know. I think Mark Cassie's had a couple of nice winners as of late. I know he's not necessarily a guy who wins a ton in New York. I think Caleb the other day said something like, "Yeah, I always wonder how Cassie is 15%, and it's because he's like 30% in Woodbine, and he's like 5% everywhere else." But I don't know. I just think that this horse is kind of I think rounding into a nice form. So I'll take a shot here with our flash drive. Of the Chads, I like technical analysis best, but I'm taking an even money horse in a 5-horse field, and that makes me feel just all kinds of disgusting with or without COVID. So, Caleb, where did you kind of land here?
Actually, Josh, I'm pretty similar to you. I like the same 2 horses you mentioned, our flash drive and technical analysis. I don't really know how I'm going to approach this race from like a betting perspective, because this is one of those races where if I'm taking an even money favorite in a 5-horse field, I probably don't want to have a second horse. But I do like our flash drive enough that I want to have some exposure to her somewhere for all the reasons that you kind of covered. I mean, she's proven over the track. She's improved in each start this year. She does seem to get better with some racing. Technical analysis is the most likely winner of this race. I thought she ran a big race last time out in the Diana, where between her and an Italian, one of those horses was going to forced to kind of get choked back. And unfortunately for technical analysis, that was her duty, was to not go to the front, and an Italian ended up wiring, and what I thought was a very impressive race for her. I think that technical analysis should control everything on the front end here. We've seen speed do pretty well on the turf, and you're dropping out a grade 1 company here. So I do think she's the likeliest winner, but I don't know that she is necessarily deserving. I won't say deserving to be even money, but I don't think she wins this race half the time. And that's kind of where I struggle. So I do like technical analysis. I have no knocks against her besides the likely price. And our flash drive, I'm with you, Josh. That's the price horse I'd probably try to include somewhere.
That's you, bald man.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to clean up chat right now with the spammer that we got going on. So,
oh goodness.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess we've hit the big time. We brought Matthew in. We got a spammer in chat.
I was
Seriously.
actually going to say the last 3 chats I've joined on another show, they've had the same spammer. So maybe this person's following me around. So I might
follows
need
you
to
around. I mean, you're kind of a
yeah.
big deal, Matt.
This
So
is disturbing.
no,
Need to clear my
no.
search
So
history. All right.
yeah, exactly. No, I ended up on the same 2 horses that Josh and Caleb ended up on both our flash drive and technical analysis. But I really think I want probably 90% of my money going through technical analysis if I'm playing anything horizontal in here. I mean, she ran really well last time out. I mean, in Italian broke the freaking track record, and she ran second by a length and a half. It wasn't like she was disgraced or anything in that effort. She's what? Two wins at a second across this surface, 4 or 5 going the distance lifetime. And I think Chad has her really right. I mean, I just think she's going to be really, really tough in here. I think when you look at this entire sequence, there's going to be a number of short price favorites, and which ones do you want to try to beat? And, albeit our flash drive, I think I like her more underneath. And I think technical analysis is just one of those horses that if horizontal, I think I can get pretty aggressive too. And it should be short, but sometimes you just eat the chalk.
I love that Lori is just calling you a party pooper.
Lord knows. Lord knows.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that there was too much to this race. I do think Caleb, you brought up a really good point about the pace advantage. I think technical analysis might have in here. Brisnet has got a bunch of these horses just listed as EP types, but we've definitely seen technical analysis not afraid to grab the lead, unlike a couple of these other horses. So I think she projects to be your pace setter here, and she might just have it all her own way. Oof. But why don't we move on to the Forego, which might take us even less time to cover. Although I don't know. I think last time we did that. No, never mind. Jackie's Warrior did win. Who did Baby Yoda beat?
Free investment risk. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, I remember Baby Yoda beat some like super short price favorite, and I don't know why I thought it was Jackie's Warrior, but there's COVID brain, first one of the stream, but you got the Forego here. Your 1 to 2 favorites going to be Jackie's Warrior. Hasn't really done anything wrong all year, but Mark, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I mean, what has Jackie's Warrior done wrong? 4 in a row, looked massively impressive, 5 of 5 across the surface, everything you could ever want. I don't see any chinks in Jackie's Armor's Warrior in this race. They've obviously changed tact with Knee Deep in the Snow. I think the thought was last out that maybe that horse presses Jackie's Warrior early and softens Jackie's Warrior up a little bit. But I still don't really know if there's a horse on the face of the planet that's not a quarter horse that can go with Jackie's Warrior early. He's just got absolutely stupid speed. So I think Jackie's Warrior gets loose again, gets real comfortable on the front end, kind of runs his own race, and he has to just toss an absolute clunker in here not to win this. I don't know what that scenario is where he doesn't bring his A game. The only thing I can see is that, I don't know, you stretch him back out to 7, but he's handled the trip before. So I think it's really hard to pick Jackie's Warrior apart in any way, shape, or form. And I think the only way you're playing against Jackie's Warrior is if you're playing, maybe a super cute saver. You're going to toss Jackie's Warrior by the field and hope that calamity happens on a very small ticket. But beyond that, I can't make a valid argument against Jackie's Warrior.
Yeah, Stephen Fox saying, what has Jackie Warrior done wrong? He didn't win the BC Sprint. I mean, Aloha West isn't in here though, so I mean, we don't have a huge update or upset coming in here. Mark, I mean, you basically said everything that I would want to say here, but you probably said it in about 40 words, 50 words more than I would, because that's just how you are. Yeah, I think Jackie's Warrior wins this by as many lengths as he wants. I just, honestly, I think even running back to the BC Sprint, that figure might be hard to beat in here. But Caleb, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I have nothing creative to add. I think Jackie's Warrior is too good for this field. I'm not going to try to beat him. This is the kind of horse that I do adamantly believe you either single or toss. I had a bit of a harder time with technical analysis, but Jackie's Warrior, I mean, unless you're trying to get live to 3 or 4 just absolute bombs in different races, I think you kind of have to take your medicine or take your stand with a horse like Jackie's Warrior. So he'll be singled on my tickets.
Matthew?
Yeah, make it 4 for 4. Not gonna get creative. That was one of the more impressive workouts that I saw at the Alfred G. Vanderbilt, where the horse just was never asked to do much of anything and blew away the field and ran a 105 Buyers. I do like Pipeline underneath for value. If you're going to play vertically, I think the cutback to 7 furlongs is good. I'm actually a little out on Cody's Wish. I think Cody's Wish is just kind of a pure miler, and I'm not sure about cutting back to 7 furlongs. So if you're going to play vertically to try to find a little bit of value there, Pipeline at 8-1 on the morning line was interesting to me, but it's all running for second place.
Yeah, I will say that Cody's Wish has got some huge numbers on Brisnet. I don't know what's Buyer showing those as, Mark. Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty good figures. But I think Jackie's Warrior is kind of at a kind of a world of his own. I mean, he's pretty consistently in the Jackie's Warrior in the 105, 107 range, and Cody's Wish is he's ran a 102 last out. I think the 2 back was probably a little bit slop aided. So I mean, there's a bunch of horses you can say, oh geez, if they take a little step forward, they can beat Jackie's Warrior. But I think we've been saying that for about Jackie's Warrior's last 5 starts, and no one has just been able to sort of answer that question. And I will say to Matt's point of trying to find a little value underneath, I actually really like Knee Deep in the Snow underneath. They're 15-1. This horse ran second last time out. I thought it was going to be the pressing pace and push Jackie's Warrior early. And Santana actually took this horse back a little bit and made one big run. He's passing tired horses. Yeah, he was getting to Jackie's Warrior. He's never going to get there. And obviously Jackie's Warrior wasn't asked. But I don't see a reason why this race is going to be very much different than the last. And if you get a big price on Knee Deep in the Snow, maybe you can play like just an ice cold exact and slam it and get a little bit of payout there.
I like that.
And just I'm gonna move on just because I want to make sure that Steven can't make fun of us for taking a half hour to talk about a 1-horse race. Let's move on to this pick 5. I thought this pick 5 was a little interesting. It's going to start with a 5.5 furlong turf sprint with a nice big field here. Scrolling down to see what's our favorite here. Is our favorite the 5 Ranger Fox?
Yeah, I think so.
Ranger Fox at 7-2. Yeah, it was a pretty flat race. I saw a lot of 9-2s and 4-1. So I think it's a pretty flat race. I did end up landing on the 5 Ranger Fox, and I kind of landed on him as a lone A in this spot, mostly because I just didn't really see a ton of speed in this race, and we're going 5.5 furlongs on the turf. I mean, yeah, give me a horse that's going to get to the front end. I mean, the 3 has shown some speed, but it's shown Monmouth speed, not necessarily Naira speed. I don't know. I kind of really like this 5 here, Ranger Fox. I think this horse has got a really good shot going wire to wire. Rosario carved out that same trip last time out. And I really just don't have a ton of knocks on Ranger Fox here. I just think Rosario gets his horse out there on the front end and wires him here. Caleb, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I looked at the race the same way you did, Josh, trying to find some speed. And I do think Ranger Fox makes sense in here. I wouldn't really say that I'm against him necessarily. But he's not really, I mean, looking at most sets of figures that I've seen, time form and thoroughgraph, he's not really faster than anyone else in this field. And in fact, there are a couple other horses that are even faster than him while he steps up in class in here. So I'm a little bit hesitant to take a short price on a horse that probably needs to improve to win this race, even with a likely pace advantage. I'm also never a big fan of horses that come out of those 6 furlong sprints at Belmont and then try Saratoga's 5.5 for the first time. It's a different beast, a different way to ride. So I actually landed up on a bit of an outsider here. The number 8 Battle Station. So this is a horse that is moving out of a New York bred, has been all over the country for the most part. I mean, raced in the Mid-Atlantic, New York, kind of all over, and does throw some clunkers in every once in a while. But I thought that last race came back fairly strong. Ran second that day at a decent price to what looks to be a pretty nice horse in King Angelo. The third place horse, Phantom Smoke, came back to win another New York allowance race last week at Saratoga. Won pretty handily as a pretty heavy favorite. So I thought that race was pretty respectable. I mean, Linda sees fit to claim the horse for $45,000 and then put him in for $62,500 in here. This is a horse that likes Saratoga. He's got 3 wins out of 7 starts here. 5.5 kind of seems like the right distance. He's got 4 wins out of 15 tries at this trip here. And I just thought that he might be a little bit sneaky and he might get a little bit overlooked given some of the dirty form. You kind of have to ignore some of those dirt tries, which is just not the right surface. And I think that, some of those other turf tries like the King Leatherberry over at Laurel, I mean, losing to, True Valor, Grateful Bread, those are very nice horses, especially True Valor, who just missed by a whisker to Golden Pal last time out. So I think that these are better races than people are going to give them credit for. These connections are going to get dismissed in this race. And I think this horse has the ability to be somewhat forward, mid-pack at worst. So that's the horse I'm going to take a shot with here is Battle Station.
Charles B calling you a genius. Said you are a genius with the Battle Station single.
I don't know if I'd say genius, but I'll take that.
So Charles loves it. Matthew, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I think this was a pretty wide open race, and I ended up going with one of the coupled entries, Comedy Town on 9-2, the Trombetta horse, Jockey McCarthy. This is a horse that just has improved the last 3 times out. Looking at buyer speed figures, gone from 80 to 84 to 89. Has significantly outrun his odds those last 3 races as well. One as a basically 11-1 long shot, finished 4th as the biggest price in the board in an 8-horse field, and then came back and really ran well at 26-1 last time out, and really held off Fauci coming down the stretch, and showed, I think, just a really impressive burst down the stretch. If you watch that race, it was really impressive because he splits 2 horses, pretty early in the stretch run. And then you think 2 or 3 horses are going to get past him. And then he just kind of accelerates and really finds another gear. And that was something that just really impressed me a lot. So you're getting 9-2 on a horse. Like I said, that's been outperforming its higher odds, admittedly. But I thought, at a little bit of a price, at least, I thought it was an interesting choice here. And I think the 5 does make a lot of sense as well. I mean, this is a race where I'd probably spread a little bit. I'm not singling anyone in this race. So I think the 5 makes a lot of sense to use. And I also thought the 2 Maxwell Esquire at 5-1 is a horse that I was kind of interested in. I might also use, but I had ultimately ended up on the 1 in Comedy Town.
Mark.
Yeah, Caleb already mentioned Battle Station, so I won't dig too far into that horse. I think Battle Station makes a ton of sense here, and if Caleb and I are both on it, you probably don't get anywhere near that 10-1 morning line. But the other horse was probably my top choice in here is the horse that Matt just mentioned, which is the 2 Maxwell Esquire. Mike Maker and Luis Saez so far this meet are running about 30% with a $3.17 ROI. Maker is winning a lot of races and not getting as much attention as some of the other trainers that are winning a lot of races. And Saez is getting all his top tier mounts. They went a mile last time out with this one. This horse has never won a mile. That is not the trip that this one wants. He's done his best running at sort of those 6 furlongs, 5.5 furlong sort of distances. And I think he makes a ton of sense in here. I don't necessarily love breaking from the rail, but this is a horse that's should give Saez some choices with this one. He can keep him involved early and see if he's got anything to finish with late. I almost wonder if that last out was a little bit try to get some stamina into this one. Off a bit of a break. He'd been off since May, came back in July and August. To just kind of get a little more foundation in. And this may have been the intended race all along. And I think 5-1 is probably more than fair.
Are you using the 5 at all, Mark?
I am not using the 5 anywhere.
Damn it. Okay.
Did you want me to set to defensive B? Would that make you happier?
It's a fake alarm, though. This is only a test.
I'm sure you'll get a chance.
This is only a test. All right. Looks like we got some people in chat here finally waking up. Jay liking the 7 here. Cazadero, first time on turf. He thinks the breeding is there. Will get better than the morning line of 8-1. Brendan Walsh and Tyler Gaffleone getting the board. Yeah, that's actually pretty strange. Well, it looks like it just got into the Brendan Walsh barn, but Brendan Walsh definitely one who, if he thinks he's got a turf horse, he's run them on turf, and it looks like he's going to try and run this horse on turf. You got Street Sense on top with Forest Wildcat on bottom. They look like about 11% turf sires here. You got 3 turf winners from this dam, Wild Gams. Any interest in this 7 here off the turf breeding, Caleb?
Yeah, I could be interested in the 7. I have this horse down as kind of I guess what you call a B. I'll wait to see the works reports. I do like the fact that it looks like Walsh has worked this horse over the turf twice prior to coming in this race. So it doesn't feel like this is a prep. It doesn't feel like this is a guess. It seems like this was a well-intentioned and well-plotted course to get this horse on the grass on the first time gelding. And yeah, there is some pedigree there. My bigger concern is just the Brendan Walsh barn has not had a very strong meet. They've had some runners that look pretty good and just haven't really shown up. So I wouldn't want to take a short price on this horse, especially trying this for the first time. But this is a horse that I think is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same exact take in here with that horse. Horse is interesting. Maybe there's some pedigree there, but honestly, the last 2 years, everything Brendan Walsh has not been good at Saratoga at all. There are certain Kentucky trainers that are trainers I think of as being more Kentucky trainers that ship up here and do real well, and Brendan Walsh is just not one of them. He's 0 for 15 this meet, and he's 1 for 20 the last year when he's been using gaff at Saratoga. So there is a price where this horse is interesting. It's about 3 times the morning line, though.
Wasn't there a Azadero horse that may have won a big race at Saratoga?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The Visadero, didn't that horse win a race at Saratoga?
Isn't that like a dirt marathoner or something?
No, it's a turf miler.
It's a turf horse, but
Turf
I don't
miler?
know if it's
Oh,
Saratoga.
Whatever. I just try to make it a joke there, but my lack of knowledge of anything horse racing other than what's on the page in front of me is definitely showing here. So
Somebody hit the crickets. Someone hit the crickets.
crickets. I think Mark already hit the crickets because I started hearing his friend the cricket come back out. Steve here, he likes the 6 Charmed off the long layoff. He says trainer is 5 for 7 in the money so far. So Phil Antonacci here is 2-1-2 in 8 starts. It looks like at least that's what I'm seeing here on Briz at Saratoga. Mark, did you give this shot? Horse
that's a horse I do like. That is a B for me on my tickets. That 2-back race is the fastest in the field by quite a bit as far as time form figs are concerned. Going this trip, I realize Monmouth to Saratoga, there's probably some difference in class there, but trainers, the barn has been really firing. The Nucci barn, this one's been gelded since the last start, and obviously something happened in that last start at Laurel, so I would sort of toss that figure on the dirtied up form. You might get a little bit of a price. I'll take a look at workout reports. This one looks like it's been training forwardly for this, but we'll see how they came back and see how the horse is doing. It's another horse that probably gets a little lost on the board in this field, giving some of the other connections. So you're definitely going to get value to take that shot, and that's one that I do find interesting.
Matt, any thoughts on the 6 here?
Yeah, I think it might get a nice trip too, and so I thought the horse had decent speed, and so can kind of put itself in contention early. Definitely was a horse I looked at, and you always have to. Just as there are certain barns that we're kind of pretty skeptical about. I mean, I still don't think I bet a Rudy Rodriguez horse this meet. When there are certain, when there are certain barns that just seem to be firing or just consistently getting in the money, then you really got to perk up and pay attention to that. So Charm's definitely a horse I like. I didn't make it to the top of my list, but can absolutely see a plausible argument for it.
Wait, you're telling me you don't get excited for betting 1 for 58 trainers? not your thing? Okay.
It's not always my thing. It's not always my thing. But I'll talk myself into some nonsense occasionally. So you never know.
Well, you'll fit in right around here because all we talk is nonsense. All right, cool. Let's move on here. Get to the stakes races. Race 8, the H. Allen Jerkins. We're gonna be going 7 furlongs here.
The what?
The King's Bishop, sorry.
Thank
the
you.
King's Bishop going 7 furlongs on the dirt here. Grade 1 for 3-year-olds. And it looks like your morning line favorite here is going to be Jack Christopher, 6-5. Finally, they decide that this horse does not want to route. So they're cutting him back to the long sprint here. But I don't know. I got a couple other horses I like here other than Jack Christopher. But Mark, I'll let you go first because I know you love. If there's one thing that you love, it's chalk. So tell me how many times you're going to use Jack Christopher.
All the times, all of them. No, I mean Jack Christopher in here. I think he's just better than this field is. Obviously they tried to stretch him out in the Haskell. We all know how that went. We'll talk about who beat him in the Haskell here in a little bit. But no, I like Jack Christopher in here a lot. I think he's your most likely winner. I do agree with Josh. I think there's a couple other ways you could go here. Jack Christopher will be my lone A. And depending on ticket types, I may use a couple of others that I think get sort of lost on the board, but Jack Christopher's done nothing wrong. He's done nothing that you would go, oh, there's some sort of chink in the armor. Besides, they tried to go a little too far with him. So this is what he wants to do. This is the right trip. I don't know what they do down the road with him, assuming he stays healthy through the Breeders' Cup. But it'll be an interesting one to see once again. And I think I don't know. I don't want to say he has this field over a barrel, but he's a deserving favorite in here.
Oh boy, Jack Christopher got beaten the Haskell by the 2022 Travers winner. Andy calling his shot here. Oh boy. He got beat by the horse that both Mark and I were on that Caleb gave no shot to.
Yeah, so, I still have no shot.
Yeah. I still think Caleb was laughing at us.
Caleb,
he utterly laughed.
Caleb knows how that race ends, and he still wouldn't bet Cyberknife in that spot.
I would not. I wouldn't get a dime out of me.
He could have like Biff. He could have Biff's book right in front of him, and he would just be like, "No, that one's definitely not happening."
So this is sort of like Zulu Alpha and the Pegasus, then, right? Like we have video of it. We've repeated the video many a time. It just didn't actually happen.
Yeah, the only reason I was on Cyberknife that day was because of a nonsensical theory I have, which is whenever there's a horse race and you're excited about two of the horses in the race, inevitably Brad Cox and Florent Giroux show up, take a giant dump over your excitement, and the other horse wins. And so I was just like, oh, well, this makes all the sense in the world that Cyberknife is going to win this race because everybody's expecting the showdown between Jack Christopher and Taba. And this is a perfect case for for Brad and Flo to show up and just be like, oh, Cyberknife is going to win. And so just took all the air out of the building when it happened. But yeah, that was pretty exciting, though. Nonetheless, I won a little bit of money on that one. So,
well, is there a Brad Cox horse in this race? Just double check.
There's not.
There's an okay, good.
Yeah.
Where did you land in, Matt?
Happy Jack. No, I'm kidding. And so no, this is. I also really like Jack Christopher. He's a horse I've liked, really since the maiden debut. And so, again, like Mark was saying, there's really not, okay, so he didn't win the Haskell. He goes right back to where he's run his absolute best figure at the 7 furlongs in the Woody Stevens. And I don't know. I think this race sets up really well for him. I mean, he likes to sit just off early speed. Conacher is going to have to go from that inside post, and that's his MO as well. And so he's going to be able to sit off that inside pace and then launch. I do think there's other very interesting horses in this race to use if you want to use something underneath. A horse like Gunite is at 6-1 on the morning line, and this horse just I love Gunite because he doesn't really turn in a bad effort ever. And the one time he got beat by Conacher, it was also coming back from a 9 or 10 month layoff. So I just think there's a valid excuse there, and otherwise this horse just always finishes kind of first or second in every race, and it just shows a lot of grit too. And obviously that Amsterdam was a big effort and a big jump in the buyer's figure, so we'll see if he can replicate that. And then the horse that I'm a little bit intrigued by is at a bigger price is Actuator, the 4 at 12-1. This is a horse that whose form just got improved the other day as best actor, who he beat in the Indiana Derby, just came back and won the Grade 3 Smarty Jones at the aforementioned Parks. And So, that race, maybe he's coming back a little stronger than you would think. And it's a horse that will cut back to 7 furlongs where he ran his best buyer's figure. And so I think there's something intriguing there at 12-1. And if you like a price, I could see a worse odds there. So, but I probably will single Jack Christopher, to be honest. I just think he's the best in the field and the most likely winner.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk you up a price. Actuator, though, when I capped this, I sort of head scratched at why he's here. Seems like a really weird spot for him. Obviously broke his maiden at Churchill. We know some of those Churchill figs, especially
Sure.
all the Churchill Spring figs came back a little bit funny. Did break his maiden go on this trip. They stretched him out in the Indian Derby, and he ran really well. It seems like, wouldn't you want to try to find a spot that was 2 turns for him and not cut him, wheel him back to a 1 turn? Like, it's one of those. Obviously, there's intent. They're doing it for a reason, and
Sure.
I'm clearly not a horse trainer, but it feels like a weird spot.
It did. It's funny. I picked up on the same thing where I was like, oh, he liked the 2 turns. Why didn't you step him up to 1 mile and 1/8 or keep him a mile and a 16th for another trip? And instead of cutting him back, but he's clearly a talented horse. And so I thought, no, at 12-1, if I'm going to screw around with some stuff underneath, if I just think Jack's the way to go, from a horizontal wager, then, at 12-1, he's at least giving you a little bit of a price. And I'm kind of out on Conager. I think maybe he's a little overrated. I just think that race 2 got back, despite what Josh has with the giant A there, which I'm sure he's got a lot to say. I just think that race 2 back or 3 back, I guess, is, I don't know, maybe a little bit anomalous, and I'm willing to try to kind of go against him underneath to try to catch a little bit more of a price.
Well, I know Caleb's got my back because I'm sure Caleb's going to be singling Conager, right, Caleb?
I mean, if 1 cherry's good and 2 cherries is better, then what's 3 cherries?
I mean,
That's a single.
that's the best. That's the 3 cherry special right there.
I like Conager in here. I don't know if I'm going to single him, but I'm definitely using him, and I guess I might be the only one playing against Jack Christopher in here. I don't know. I mean, it's not that he's a bad horse or anything like that. I certainly not. But I guess my biggest question is I'm less impressed by who he lost to and rather more concerned with who he's actually beaten. I mean, I'm not that impressed with repeatedly beating up on the likes of Professional Maiden, Command Performance, and then, Papa Cap, the 2-year-old that never really went forward after that, and a few others he's beating him by 10 lengths, sure. But I don't know. I mean, at 6-5, I thought there's other horses in here that are almost as fast or even as fast, on their day, such as a horse as Conager. And, I think that in a sequence that I thought felt a little on the chalky side, this is one that I might be able to, that feels a little vulnerable to me, honestly. So, yeah, I think that I don't really dislike Jack Christopher, but I think that he's going to be way overbet and way singled. And I think this is a tougher field than anything he's faced before. So, yeah, I'm going to spread here, use Josh's horse Conager for sure. And I do like Actuator, who I think a few of y'all mentioned already. Yep. Gunite, Accretive. I'm going to be spread here because I don't want to be right about Jack Christopher being vulnerable and then not have a logical horse that could beat him. So I'm going to be spread here and try to get around Jack Christopher.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to AB this race. I'm only using 2 horses. I'm using Conager the most. Inside drawn speed going 7 furlongs. Now I know the rail has just absolutely been just garbage as of late at Saratoga. Probably actually all meat. Now that I think about it, I don't think it's been good. But I think the one's got enough speed that hopefully someone gives Joe Rocco some insight to maybe sit in the 2 or 3 path and not right down the rail. Inside drawn speed. It's just always good. Conager also owned in part by Larry Ravelli's main patron, Patricia's Hope. So there's a little Illinois connection there to the one horse. The other horse I'm going to use is going to be Gunite. I kind of went back and forth on whether I was going to use Gunite as kind of my top pick in this race. I think Conager is going to just have the pace advantage, being what looks to be the speed of the speed in this race. I kind of gave Gunite the second tier, but depending on the price, I mean, I think that I'm going to get the right price on Gunite, so I might use both equally. Just because, I mean, that last race was super impressive. and you know, beat some really nice horses there. And he even stumbled a little bit at the start, you know, so didn't get the perfect trip. And I think it's just he's gonna sit a nice trip here. He's gonna sit, you know, in that second flight of horses, sit on the outside, and you know, hopefully if Tyler gives the green light, he's able to close in. So I like the 1 and I like the 8 in this spot, and I don't really think I need much else. I'm gonna be kind of skinny, I think, in this this late pick 5. So I'm just gonna use those two.
So the question is, are we going to start a new? Are we going to start tracking how many lengths Happy Jack loses by again? Because that was something I enjoyed doing during the Triple Crown run, and so I didn't know if we were already going to start saying, you know, over under 8 lengths, 10 lengths. You know, what are we expecting from Happy Jack? Who I kid is cutting back. Obviously, I'm glad he's cutting back, but you know, stepping up now big time after a couple optional claimers.
Yeah, Happy Jack is another one that I'm like, why are you here? Why did Doug O'Neill see fit to ship you across? Like, what other? He couldn't have been Vanville. They must have flown him on a plane, I would assume. So, like, why is he here? It makes no sense. Absolutely, it almost makes so little sense that you want to use him and include him some way. Like one of those types of just like, why on earth are you here?
Yeah, I mean, you could ask that question about every race this horse has run since his maiden.
That is also a valid take here. I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, I just assume there's an ownership group that.
I wonder if it's races. Yeah, I wonder if it's really like a Sisterson horse under the Doug O'Neill name. Just it's been based in Keeneland for a while. You know, Calumet typically sends to Sisterson, if not, you know, a few other trainers. It does feel funny, but I don't know what this horse is doing here.
Looking at chat, it looks like PDT likes the Chad Exacta JC over Accretive.
Yeah, I think Jimmy and Chad also said, can other Chad improve even more third time out? And I think he certainly can. I think that horse is incredibly live in here.
Yeah, honestly, for how quickly that Creative has come along, I think he's an amazingly interesting fresh face in this race. I mean, you know, running second, you know, huge second to Gun 8 last out. Second start of your career after just a maiden win. I mean, that's impressive. So, you know, I again, I know a couple of people have mentioned Gun 8. I do really like Gun 8. He really loves Saratoga, and he always brings his best stuff when he's up here. But I do think that a Creative is a little interesting in here.
So, if you get, since you know we're talking about these two horses, I do feel like we need to bring up Josh's adventures in awful wagering. The Amsterdam was one of the so they ran this like promo for Travers Week, where basically if you bet $50 to win on a horse in certain select races, they gave you $20 whether you win or lose. So one of them was the Epicenter race, and so I hit that. I was feeling good. So the next one I think was Amsterdam, and I was between two horses. I was between Accretive and I was between Gun Night, and I was like, and at the time they were both like around the same price. I think Accretive was like 5-1, and Gun Night was like 5, like I think between 5 and 6-1. And so I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go with Accretive, and then Accretive takes all the money, goes off at like a little under 3-1, and then Gun Night just runs him off the floor. And then I turned to look, and just to see Gun Night float up to basically 7.5-1, and I'm just like, this is just ridiculous. Like, and then I didn't hit a single one of those $50 bets like the rest of the time. So I think for my I think it ended up being like $300 or $400 wagered on these. No, yeah, it was $300 wagered. I got a $120 bonus, and only hit on one of them. So thank you, Naira. You cost me a couple $100. So I appreciate you running that promo.
I mean, if we're really going to talk adventurous wagering strategies, Jakarta?
I mean, that was like a year ago. Okay, it was like 6 months ago. It was also at Parks.
I think it was 3 months ago, but okay, keep going.
What do you mean 3 months ago?
When Jakarta win?
Jakarta won at Parks like in like January.
Yeah, winter race, I remember.
Yeah.
Was it that? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Dude,
what are you looking up?
Flies when you're having so much fun. I'm looking it up right now.
I don't even know what.
Because clearly, what we need to be doing on Travers.
Yeah, I was looking up Jakarta's last
7th.
race.
March 7th.
Yeah, and she lost.
And
because
she
I think
lost.
I went back
And
to the well in March
December
7th.
28th, and then Mrs. Claus.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I was a little off.
I didn't bet her
Well.
when she was like 17-1, but I'll bet her at 4-1. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's keep on going here. We got the personal ensign, race 9, going a mile and the eighth on the dirt. We got a field of 5. We Matt, we've been talking about this a lot over the summer, specifically with Naira, and these grade 1s. Just, I mean, it's looking like Santa Anita East out here with these grade 1 races. I feel like the maiden races are still drawing really well. They're claiming races, allowance races are still drawing pretty well, but their stakes races are just, even the turf races are just not drawing. I will say that this one's not really fair to like criticize because they got the right 5 of the 5 that they could get. So I like, it's not like hey, like let's bash like the quality of the race, but I think the quality from like a betting perspective, like you want to see more than 5 horses, right?
Yeah, absolutely you do. And I agree with you. You can't bash the quality of this. I mean, you got 3-4 monsters in this race. I mean, this is really, I mean, this is as good of a older, dirt female race that you're going to find. And we basically saw this with the Ogden Phipps, and that was a thrilling race. And so, the quality can't be argued with. But yeah, it's a race where you're kind of frustrated from a betting standpoint because everybody's kind of bunched together, not a lot of value you can attack. And then the other thing is, in some of these cases, a horse like Clariere Malafat, who really like to come from off the pace. I mean, certainly you saw what happened in the Ogden Phipps, where search results and Latruska just open up, 12, 15 lengths on the two of them. I mean, that's very, very rare to see. And so, sometimes horses that rely on being a deep closer, it sometimes hurts to have these super short, small fields where, you can't be a little bit more drawn out. And so it's a little disappointing to see. But to your point, they at least got the right 5 horses for this one. And you can't argue with the quality of this field.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say about this race is what horse isn't here that you wish was here. I think it's one thing to make an argument and say, oh, geez, a bunch of horses are skipping a monster or they're playing games, whatever. But diminished foal crops. We definitely have too many graded stakes in this country. And what other horse do you want that's in this
What about the 5 that ran last week? What was the race that they ran last week that was like real similar to this?
Yeah, it was the one that Leader of the Band won.
That it was like Leader of the Band, Bonnie South, Army Wife.
Yeah. That'd be nice. Okay. I mean, that would be nice to have those horses in there, but they would all be a couple of the top 4, I think, in this field. So, it's just, field size for the sake of field size.
I think Andy said it best. He said, like, how do you get people excited to run for 4th? And I guess you kind of see it, right? Like when you see, I think Caleb, you had said, wow, like 4 of these horses can win. And I assume you think Crazy Beautiful's got no shot in here, but it's just tough. Like, and like for me, and I always feel like I got to preface this because, God forbid at some point some like old blue blood from Kentucky who is like, owned horses, his father owned horses, his father before him owned horse. Like, they like come at me and explain like how being a horse owner, blah, 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 all this stuff. Look, I literally basically want as little to know to do with horse ownership. Like I'm here to watch the races. I'm here to bet on the races, but like that part of the game, like I have zero interest in. And I think Caleb and I have both kind of, we always joke about like how like sales coverage is literally like makes me want to gouge my eyes out when I see all that stuff on Twitter. Like, oh, hey, this horse is sold for $3 million. And it's like me looking at my student loans like, oh shit, like $3 million for a horse. Like maybe I should have been a horse. Like, I don't know. Like, but, yeah, like from a betting perspective and a fan perspective, it's hard sometimes to look at this, but I think at least in this case, we got the right horses in this field. So after I've proceeded to beat this race into submission on just talking about how shitty a 5-horse field is. I'm gonna single the one. I'm gonna single Latruska. I'm gonna go back to the Latruska well. That
So you're
last
telling
race, that last race
telling
was
me
too
Josh
bad
is
to
on the
believe.
E8.
That last race
Shocking.
was too bad to believe. You know what? I also did some soul searching this week when I was just like sitting in bed with nothing else to do. And I realized that I don't think I've been betting enough E8s lately. I think maybe that is the problem. That's why I was on such a downswing. Is that I just have not been betting enough cheap speed. You guys who've been watching these streams, you guys have seen me pick chalk occasionally. I've been taking Chad
We've seen
Brown
you pick
horses.
Closers.
You seen me pick closers, single closers. Like there was obviously something rotten in the state of Denmark, and we're going to go back to the well here, right? We're going back to back with these E8s. So I'm a single Latruska. I think that last race was just too bad to believe. I know search results kind of got out after her and just basically used her up and just absolutely just folded her in half. I'm gonna hope that we're gonna get a little bit better of a ride this time. Maybe we don't go 22-2 in this first quarter, and I'm gonna hope for a better result. I'm sure that's madness, having the same variables there and thinking that we're gonna get a different result, but. I'm going to go ahead and hope that that maybe Jose learned a thing here and doesn't try to go with. I actually think IRAD not being on search results might help a little bit because if there's one guy who I hate on a front runner even more than IRAD, it's probably Flavian Pratt. So I just think that. That maybe Latruska gets a breather here and maybe might turn the tables here. Caleb took a really big swig of whiskey there, so I have a feeling that he disagrees with me here.
I don't hate you singling Latruska in here. I'm not going to do it, but I don't hate the idea behind it. I mean, clearly when a speed horse quits, when they know they're beaten, it doesn't really matter how badly they get beaten. Whether she was 5th by 5 or 5th by 35, it really doesn't matter. They quit riding the race when they knew she was beat. Yeah, that's fine. My bigger thing with her is that I was just really impressed with how search results ran that day. I thought she ran her eyeballs out in the Ogden Phipps, gave Latruska everything she could ask for, put away Latruska, and then still looked a winner turning for home before eventually getting run down by the two big closers, Clairiere and Malafat. And that was after setting just unbelievably fast fractions. I mean, I think that Timeform has those early fractions rated 151, which is obviously, if you don't follow Timeform, that's incredibly quick. Color-coded red. So, yeah, I mean, just a ridiculously fast race. She came back the Molly pitcher and showed that, she's no worse for wear, didn't bounce out of that effort. And seems like she's still a really, really nice filly. So I think she has a ton of upside left here. I do like the jockey change to Pratt. I think that they probably learned something that, hey, we can actually run with this group of horses for one, and for two, we don't need to go 22-45 with Latruska in order to have a chance to win. So whether you think Latruska is maybe, I guess I'm in the camp that I think Latruska is maybe not the same horse as she was last year. She is 6 years old now. We'll find out, but maybe that Breeders' Cup knocked a little bit out of her. She found a couple soft spots to start the year a little bit. The Apple Blossom was good, but she just seems like a horse that needs to have 2 lengths turning for home to win. But anytime someone kind of draws near her, she sort of spits the bit like she did in the Breeders' Cup and then more recently in the Ogden Phipps. Yeah, I agree with Steve on that I don't think search results are going to let her get away, but I don't think they're going to go 22-45 either. So yeah, I just thought search results ran a huge race, and that's kind of where I'm going to go here. I don't know what I'll do with the two closers, Clairiere and Malafat. I kind of view them as almost identical horses. And with the nod to Clairiere, who I do think has improved more at 4 than Malafat has. But, I haven't totally decided how I'm going to handle that. But search results will be my top pick in here.
Matthew.
I'm actually with Caleb on this. Search results, I could not have impressed me more at the Ogden Phipps to run the way, to run those early fractions. You mentioned the time form rating that was also just eye popping to see, the 151 early speed, and to be able to hang on and still stay so competitive at the end with Malathat and Clarier closing just was so impressive. And then came back and looked really good next out, winning. And I also am like you. I like the jockey change. Actually, I like Flavian in this spot a lot more than Irad. So I think what they learned is they don't need to be right up against Latruska, but if they can maybe just make her feel search results, I think that's the most important thing, and just be off her hip or just maybe a length back. I just think, if you're watching this at home, I think if you see something like a 46 flat opening half or a 46-1, I think you can just draw a line right through Latruska. I mean, she, at this point, I just think gets speed compromised early, especially going out to a mile and an 8. So I love her. She's a great horse, but I'm going to go with search results here. And then I just have a feeling this one might look a little bit like the Apple Blossom for Clarier, where she just can't quite get by. And so I think she'll probably finish second. I do like her a lot as a horse. I was there last year at the Cotillion and was just so impressed with her. So really like her in kind of the second spot, but I'm going to go with search results as my top choice.
I'll tell you, Matt, if they go 46-2, I'm fine with Latruska. If they go 45-2, I'm all of a sudden not fine with her.
Right.
But no, I land on Latruska much like Josh here. She's just super classy. Fausto is really good off these kind of layoffs. He's 42%, 61 to 180 day layoff with a $7.43 ROI. I think people will look at that last result and think that maybe the 6-year-old is kind of over it. And I don't know if they go suicidal, but she's Latruska's shown over the years that she really likes Saratoga. 2 for 3 across the surface. And, I think she's once again controlling speed. You have to hope Jose gives her a little better ride than he did in the Ogden Phipps. But, I'm willing to sort of draw a line through one bad race out of Latruska. And again, if she fires another clunker here, well, then maybe you look at it going forward a little differently. But I'll go back to the Latruska well here. And the other horse that I don't think anybody has mentioned that I was interested in, is Clarier. I mean, I don't, Clarier is your 6-5 morning favorite in here. She's, won her last 2, won that Ogden Phipps. Again, shorter field here. Does she get the pace setup that she's needed? But if Latruska goes and search results, presses her and keeps the pace honest, I think this has a chance of coming apart. And I don't think Clarier is a bad pick in here.
You taking the 6-5 favorite, I mean, it's just icing on the cake in this.
But you see, I'm taking the 6-5 favorite and using another A with it. So I'm keeping to form.
We don't know you're going to buy the race anyway, right?
I'm buying the race. Of course I'm buying the race. No, I have it. I'm going to AB buy it.
Congratulations to Crazy Beautiful, the winner of the personal ensign as the only horse that we didn't talk. Did anyone really talk about Malathat though?
I said I think her and Clarier are almost like the same horse in my mind. People said that Malathat had trouble in the Chuvy last out. I watched the race like 5 times, and I don't think it changed anything. I mean, she was a little bit wide, but if you're wide in a 4-horse field, that's your jockey's fault. I don't know what else to tell you.
Right.
I mean, that's not a good excuse in my opinion. So, I think she could win this race to be for sure. Is she 2.5 times less likely to win than Clarier? No, I don't think that's true either. But, is she a horse that has, burned money last time out? And do I think you're going to get 5-2 is the other question. And no, I don't. I think this horse is going to get bet. But no, I think she makes sense. If you like her, I say the best thing that could have happened to you is the fact that she lost last time. So I have a hard time separating her and Clarier. I give the edge to Clarier, but not at the price discrepancy of the morning line.
I do want to mention, and I don't know if I made this clear, but I don't know if Latruska is actually the most likely winner in this spot. I just have a feeling that 1, I want to be narrow in this spot, and 2, I just feel like I'm going to get the right price on Latruska in here. I don't think search results ends up being 7-2. I think search results takes a lot more money. I wouldn't be surprised if search results doesn't finish as your co-favorite in this race at 5-2 or 2-1. I think search results, Clarier and Malathat all take money, and I do think Latruska gets a little bit lost on the board, but I don't know. Like, do you really see this horse taking a ton of money off that last effort?
I think you're dead wrong, honestly. But
You think I'm dead wrong?
I
You
do
don't
too.
think-
Actually, I'm glad Caleb
Yeah.
you said it. I think
You don't think that
completely
you
wrong,
don't think that
too.
the Chad horse isn't going to take just a
well,
absolute
Truska hasn't gone
absurd
for
amount of
3 to
money?
1 in 2 years. I mean, she's not. It's one bad race, but I mean, she was last in the Breeders' Cup and came back at 1 to 9 in her next start. Like, this horse is going to take money. I mean, I don't think
People
are gonna
love her. Yeah,
jump off
people
just
love her.
yet.
And,
Okay.
I think just on big days like this, you just have so many more casual fans betting, and she's a big name, and she's the name everybody remembers. And I just think that she's a horse that a lot of people have affection for, and they're going to put a lot of money on her. I think Clarier's the new hot name as well. They're going to put a lot of money on her, and so I think you'll get a decent price actually on search results, or I think you won't get far off from what the morning line is. So yeah, I think she'll take a lot of money. We'll see.
Okay, so
I'm
I guess that
surprised.
brings up.
Yeah.
What do you think the sort of 4 big names in here go off at? At post.
Wow.
Because I really you can arguably you can sit here and look at this race and you can make a pretty good case for 5 horses. Like it's this race is we're all picking
4
our
horses.
favorite
We
here.
can't make a case for Crazy Beautiful. All right, trust me.
Really.
I see. Okay, I see.
I thought her
Charles,
last was.
I see
thought her last was
Charles
really
making a
good.
case for Crazy Beautiful. He loves the dirty form. So
Yeah,
Then
she's
he
got
loves
dirty form. I think her
10
last
McPeak
race-
horses. Yeah, that's good.
yeah, he does. He's a
And
big
I
McPeak
think
fan.
her last race was arguably really, really good. But
What was really, really good about it?
I don't. I mean, right, here you go. So if Claire goes off at 9 to 5, I mean, she wasn't disgraced. She wasn't beat by a huge amount in that race, and she's going to be, 10 times what the favorite's going to be in here. Like I think this is a race where, we're all going to pick our favorites, but I think the price from your favorite to the last place horse, I think the chance of winning are going to be much closer than the board necessarily implies.
I think Malathat has a chance to float up, in my opinion, just because I think Latruska and Clarier are going to take a lot of money, and I think I do think search results is going to take some money, but I'm feeling Malathat somehow is just not the flavor of the month anymore, and everybody's just shifted over to Clarier and is all in on Clarier, and I think Malathat's kind of become this forgotten horse a little bit, and so I wonder if she's going to float up from 5 to 2, and then I think Crazy Beautiful is probably going to float as well. Although, I mean, she's a respectable filly, but I just think she's going to float up.
I just pulled odds from oddschecker.com. I see Clarier at 5 to 4, 11 to 10, even money. I see Malathat at 7 to 2, basically everywhere. I see search results at 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 9 to 2. I see Latruska at 11 to 2, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 7 to 2. I see Crazy Beautiful at 20 to 1 and higher. So
I'll be surprised if that's how it shakes out. I tend to think. I mean, I think the way that David has on the line, I think, is close. I don't think Clarier goes off that short. I think Latruska and Malathat maybe take a little bit of money, especially Latruska. But yeah, I mean, I think otherwise it's in the right order anyway. Maybe just change a few numbers.
All right, congratulations, Crazy Beautiful. Let's move on. Hey, we did it with that turf race. We bet the wrong McPeak. And the Classic Causeway boomed us all.
Yeah, you're right.
Sword Dancer. Speaking of races Caleb loves talking about, we're gonna be going 1.5 miles here on the inner turf, 4-year-olds and up. I think we actually got 10 horses here, and we got the return of one of Caleb's favorite horses in Channel Maker, the 9.
There's
you,
at least
you
4
got the
horses
hat?
in here.
I got
There's
the
at least-
back here.
There's at least 4 horses in here that are amongst Caleb's top 10 favorite horses.
All right, there we go. He's got the Channel
Now we're
Maker
ready.
hat. He's got the Channel Maker hat on. So do it. Pick Channel Maker. I know you won't.
No, I won't. Channel Maker can't win this race. I don't think he can. And that's not that. At this point, it's almost like a Tom Brady effect where you just disliked a horse or disliked a quarterback or for so long, and they just keep doing it despite the fact that they're 116 years old, and that they're just like ageless and probably made a deal with Satan to trade their soul in. But you just have to respect it at this point. Like, Channel Maker still competes at the highest level, despite the fact that's an 8-year-old gelding that has been all over the world. So, I don't think he can win this race. I don't think he's as good as he used to be, but I respect him for being here. I think as long as he keeps running into Tribavon, he's going to be in for some trouble, unfortunately. So, yeah, everyone knows that I love turf marathon races. They're my favorite, especially in New York. So, yeah, I'm going to take one pretty boring opinion and one more interesting opinion. I think Broom's the horse to beat in here. His only start stateside back in the Breeders' Cup last year was an excellent race, actually. This is a horse that generally runs forward in a lot of the European races. A lot of times Aiden uses this horse as the rabbit for his other runners, but he came from way off the pace in that Breeders' Cup race at Del Mar and just missed. I'm not sure how great that race has turned out to be, but I don't think this race is anything special either. So I think that his Ascot race 2 back in the Hardwick Stakes was excellent. The King George, a little bit too tough. I don't think there's any shame in losing to the likes of Pile Driver, Torquator Tasso, and Mishriff. So yeah, I think that Broom is extremely well meant in here. I mean, seems to make all the sense in the world, in my opinion. That's the horse I think your most likely winner. The horse I'm going to try to get to as a price, though, is going to be the number 8, Soldier Rising. This race just kind of screams out that I want a new face, among these horses. I've seen enough of Gufo. I've seen enough of Rock Emperor. I've seen enough of Cross Border, a lot of these horses.
I don't think you have, but
I don't get why Adano's 7-2 in here. I don't understand that. Tribavon is a nice horse, but I've always thought he's better maybe a mile and a quarter, a mile and an eighth. I'm not sure he really wants a mile and a half. Soldier Rising just seems like the horse that's been a bit of a slow bloomer. It took him a while to kind of figure out American racing when he got here, but he always kind of showed up. I mean, he's never been more than 3 lengths from winning in all of his starts since coming here, and pretty much all of his starts in his career. But it seems like since coming back as a 4-year-old, he's kind of put things together a little bit. He was only beaten in neck to Channel Maker 2 starts back, and that's a day when Channel Maker kind of had everything for the most part, his own way up front, going what he does best, losing the lead. So I thought that Soldier Rising ran a good race that day, came back with a nice win. So this is a horse that does need to improve a little bit to beat this field, but I think he is the kind of improving type and the fresh face that I want to take a chance on a price horse in here, because I've just seen enough of the usual suspects.
Well, I'm just here to give the people what they want, and that's picking the E8 horse, the 7 Tributhan here. I actually took a look at the race, and I mean Channel Maker's in here, so obviously I got to look at the pace scenario. Is Channel Maker going to be loose on the lead? The answer is no. Then move on, and I moved on, and I went to Tributhan. I will say I am a little concerned. I think Caleb already brought it up. Tributhan's not exactly run well his 2 tries at this distance. Sword Dancer last year, he was a pretty short price and he got goofoed. That was actually a race that I had Japan for stacks and just got the worst Ryan Moore ride I think I've ever seen in my entire life. So good luck with Broom. Because Ryan Moore can find trouble in a 5-horse race, let alone a 10-horse race here. But I thought Tributhan, he was pretty impressive. 2 out in the Manhattan, probably should have won last out in the United Nations, and kind of just I don't know what really happened. He had a pretty easy lead, I thought, and then kind of just yielded late to and lost to some pretty bad horses in Epic Bromance and Temple. I think I'm taking a little bit of a risk here. 5-1 might not be the price that I want on this horse either. But I thought that Tributhan made a lot of sense. I actually really do like the 8 Soldier Rising. I think you brought up really good points there, Caleb, with this horse seems to be one of the few horses I think in this race that want this distance. Has never missed the exacta at this distance here in the U.S. And has shown just a really, really nice closing kick. Did lose to Channel Maker after taking the lead on Channel Maker, but I guess maybe we forgive that and we take another look here at Soldier Rising. I like I said, I think Channel Maker is going to be up against it. I marked Channel Maker down as a B, mostly for the memes. Like the only way I am betting Channel Maker in this race is if it rains at some point tomorrow or Saturday morning and there's some cut in the ground. I still contend that Channel Maker wants soft or good footing, and that's when he's the most dangerous. I know his last win was over firm ground, but I really think that he just does the best over some cut in the ground. So I marked him down as a B. I don't think if we come up to, firm, I don't think he's got a shot. But if we get a little bit of rain, then I'll be interested in betting the old war horse here. Matthew, how did you kind of see this?
Yeah, I hate to sound like a broken record because I said it last race, but I saw it the same way Caleb did, actually. I had the 3-8 as my top two. And so Broom is just a horse that I have loved for quite a long time. When you read the horses this horse loses to, it's just a who's who over in Europe. I mean, just never, every time he loses, it makes sense. And you're just like, okay, he lost to Love. He lost to Adiyar. He lost to Pile Driver. Like, okay, like that's fine. That effort at Ascot over Hurricane Lane was super impressive, that run. And so I just really like him. Ryan Moore's coming over for this race only, basically. So I typically like it when either, William Buick or Ryan Moore come over just for one ride rather than maybe Jamie Spencer coming over for one ride. Just have visions of Space Traveler getting blocked in down in Pegasus Day over and over in my head. But anyway, I digress. But I just Broom makes a lot of sense for me. I just think he's the class of the field. And then the 8, yeah, what you and Caleb have already said, I would just reiterate. I just think this is a horse that I think is going to. I don't know if we've seen its best race yet, and that always is exciting to me, and I'm always willing to take a shot at a horse, particularly at that price. That's I think still improving and has something to show. So really like this. I think it's interesting. I've actually kind of dug into this a little bit with Gufo, who we may or may not end up talking about, but Gufo gets the blinkers on, and which is an interesting equipment change that worked last year when they went and put the blinkers on after a loss. He kind of came back and won in the next couple. So that might be good because what I've noticed is in larger fields lately, he just gives himself too much work to do. And so the blinks should help get him a little bit more forwardly placed. So maybe we see a better version of him this time out, but I'll go with the 3-8 in this one.
So my question is though, like, does Joel Rosario also get the blinkers? Or only the horse get it? Because I'm wondering, like you said, give himself too much to do, and I'm like, wow, that sounds like Joel Rosario. And sure enough, that's Joel Rosario has ridden Gufo as long as we can tell. So he's had a couple of those rides. I think this the past like month where he's just left himself a little too much to do.
Yeah, it's frustrating because he's a really super talented horse, and maybe he bounces back here, and whether it's the equipment change or whether it's just much more adamant instructions from Clement about get this horse sitting much closer, but we'll see what type of miracle ride Joel pulls off.
Yeah, it's you, big boy. Who you got here?
Me? Oh man. No. So I think Matt and Caleb have both waxed poetically about Broom. He's my top choice in here for all the reasons that they pointed out here. I wanted that sort of other fresh face horse, but I found the other fresh face horse, and that's the 10 Mira's Mission. I thought Mira's Mission was actually super interesting in here. Ian Wilkes' barn has been firing really well at Saratoga, running, barn's been very live. This is a horse that's never gone this far. The Forbidden Apple, the last out, that was clearly a tune-up race. That was not the target race here. Going a mile for this horse that hadn't run well at a mile and absolutely forever. And they seem to use these shorter tune-up races to prepare for a little bit of a longer excursion. So I thought Mira's Mission, for Ian Wilkes, Julian's been riding fine this year at Saratoga, which is not something I don't think I've actually ever said that, but Julian's been getting his mounts and getting his wins, doing well. And I thought Mira's Mission was interesting for a horse. Again, that fresh face, probably get a bit of a price on, gets a little lost on the board, and the pedigree says this trip should be fine. This shouldn't be outside the scope of something that makes sense. And also, again, if you, I think Tribute Fan probably gets a little more pace pressure. Mirror's Mission is one of those horses that can sit just off, and Julian can sort of invent a trip. So, yeah, I thought, that's the outsider I'll take.
I don't know if I thought that there was a little bit more pace in here, I would look at a horse like Gufo. I think Matthew, you brought up a good point. I think that like he is just the quintessential like does not give a shit the first quarter of a mile and will put himself back 10, 12 lengths, like before a blink of an eye. So I think the blinkers going on is probably a good sign. I have a feeling that Gufo is going to be still too short. Like if he wins, I'm not going to be surprised, but I'm going to feel like he might be a bad bet at whatever odds he goes off at. Overseas, they seem to think he might float up a bit. They have Broom at 2-1, and then Adamo at 7-2, 4-1 range, and then they have Gufo kind of that third choice at like 5 or 6-1. We didn't really talk about Adamo. Any interest in Adamo in this spot?
Not for me. He kind of feels slow, and I just he doesn't have that race that just like stands out as like, oh yeah, like this is the race that makes me want to bet this horse. Like, I mean, yeah, he had some trouble in the Manhattan, I guess, and then the inside the Churchill turf course is playing kind of funky, so maybe just he didn't care for it. But and then the fairgrounds race, I mean, I don't know what happened there, just missed, I guess. But it's a lot of excuses and a lot of if and maybes to get to a horse at 7-2 for me. And it kills me to say this because we own him in a fantasy league that I'm in, but I don't really like him in here.
Yeah, I think he probably takes money off that UN, and who'd he be? I mean, there was nobody else in that field. That was a pretty soft UN. All the reasons Caleb kind of said, he's never run a figure fast enough to say that he's able to win this. And he's going to take money just on connections and Pratt having choice and landing there. So he needs to take a massive step forward. He's a real hard horse for me to get to at a short price.
Agreed. I'll just add that.
Anybody else that we want to talk about in here? We spent less time on the 10-horse race than the 5-horse race, so
I mean, this makes me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit, but I did give a look to Rock Emperor, believe it or not. It's not a horse I'm going to use prominently anywhere. Like I said, I'm going to have Broom and Soldier Rising is my top two. Thank you. But Rock Emperor, so I read an article, Chad seems to think this is a horse that really needs like very firm turf to show his best stuff. A little surprising given the European pedigree, but if you look back and when he has caught those softer turf courses, he sort of has failed to show up on some of those. And he did get a very firm track last time and ran a nice race. I mean, some of his better races on a number standpoint are every bit good enough to win this race, so I don't know that I could use him, but I could use him somewhere at 8-1, and that's probably the most I can say.
The only other horse I thought was a little bit interesting was the 4, Cold Hard Cash. I realize, the horse does have a win going this trip. I realized the fractions were absolutely glacial, but just kind of again, that sort of outsider looking for somebody who's a crazy price. Maybe a horse that might not have a chance to win, but might show up underneath. Johnny V's been riding absolutely, phenomenal this meet, given the number of mounts. So, interesting sort of horse. And when Johnny gets up for Linda, that's a very, very, very high percentage connection. So, I'm having a hard time getting to why I like the horse, quite honestly. Like, this isn't one that I'm like, oh yeah, the figs fit or anything else. But this is one that's, again, an interesting fresh face in a division that I think needs some fresh faces.
Did we beat Mark in submission that he feels like he needs to pick a 30-1?
I think we did. So I was about to ask, are you feeling okay? Mirror Mission and Cold Hard Cash, like, are the
I know. I get enough crap by eating chalk, so.
I don't think you get enough crap for eating chalk, to be honest with you, but that's neither here nor there. All right, guys, let's wrap this up with the race 11, the last race of this pick 5 here. The 1.25 Travers, the Midsummer Derby, going 1.25 miles here on the main track. Your morning line favorite's going to be 7-2 on Cyberknife. I'm just kidding. Epicenter is going to be 7-5 here in this race. And then you get 7-2 on Cyberknife. Artorias is 9-2, 5-1 on Zandon, and then 8-1 early voting. And then you get Rich Strike, Gilded Age, and Ain't Life Grand also showing up in here. We got 8 horses here contesting this grade 1. Mark, where did you land here?
Yeah, Saratoga feature the meet, and I probably have nothing super creative to say. I'm on the top 2 choices here. I'll be on Epicenter and Cyberknife. I'll have more money going through Epicenter, obviously, winning the local prep for this race. Epicenter obviously had his, sort of the almost spring campaign, second in the Derby, second in the Preakness, got a little bit of breather, came back, ran amazingly impressive in the Jim Dandy. Jim Dandy winners win the Travers something like 50% of the time. So it's a huge, that local surface prep is absolutely massive. And much to I don't know, Caleb probably still won't agree that that Cyberknife actually did win the Haskell, but a horse that seems to be kind of, Cyberknife just likes to win. He does it a lot, and he runs decently. He's a horse that I think we were all suspect on the Arkansas preps. Showed that maybe they weren't as terrible, or that maybe he was he's a fairly okay horse. So I think I just need those 2. I don't need anybody else that's in this field. I think one of them, those are your 2 major players, and I just don't feel like I need to be any deeper than that.
Andy here saying that he thinks that the speed figures in Epicenter have plateaued, and he's looking for the next horse that wants to move up.
That's a completely valid take, but I don't know who that next horse is. And I think Epicenter can probably run back to any of his last 2 or even last 3 and probably be top 2 here. Like, I don't see that horse that's leading forward, that is ready to take that next step forward. Who is that horse?
So I'll chime in with who I think that horse might be. And this is coming from somebody who wasted a lot of money last year on Midnight Bourbon, but give me all of Zandon at 5-1. I really like Zandon, and I think that Jim Dandy performance, as impressive as Epicenter was, and he was, I was also impressed by Zandon, who I think was much more forwardly placed than I thought he was. Granted, it was a 4-horse field, so you got to be, nobody's that far back. But I thought ran a really good race coming off the bench, and again got that run over this surface, which I think is important, that Mark mentioned. I think he is the candidate who could take a step forward. And so I also like the outside post position, because he's a horse that's had gait issues before, and I kind of like being a little further outside in this spot, because if he does have it, if he breaks out or something like that, it's just less that could go wrong with that outside post position. And so I just think he's going to take that step forward in this one. The reason I brought up Midnight Bourbon is he reminds me a lot of Midnight Bourbon, in that he always turns in a very honest effort. He always, really runs a good race, but just doesn't, as much as Mark talked about how Epicenter likes winning, Zandon likes finishing second or third and winning and throwing in a win here or there, and kind of what Midnight Bourbon used to do. I agree with the commenter who said that the Epicenter is kind of plateaued, and I think he'll probably run another 102, and he'll probably run second, like no worse than second, because he doesn't run worse than second. And so I like Zandon here. I do think Cyberknife's maturity level just still bothers me a little bit. I just don't know. He's matured a little bit, but I just still not sure what you're going to get out of him come race day. So we'll see. And then I think the big question that I have is whether or not Ain't Life Grand goes, and suddenly early voting is rating, where I think early voting does best. And I think early voting on the lead is a disaster for that horse, but I think early voting having a target to run at is a little bit of a different animal. So that's interesting to me, but my top pick is Zandon in this one.
Yeah, Matt, I really agree with you on early voting. I'm glad you brought that up, because I do think this is a horse that is kind of expected to get the lead in here, but has run his better races when he does have a target. Not to say he wants to be 4 lengths off or sitting mid-pack, but sitting second, just a length off or so, kind of like he did in the Preakness, I think is perfect for this horse. I hope, since I do like early voting a little bit, my top pick is Epicenter, who I'll get to in a moment. But since we're on the topic of early voting, this is the only other horse that I'm interested in this field really is early voting. And I think that, if he has a target, I think he's better than that last race would indicate. I think there's this notion that he can't go this far. He doesn't want the distance. And I just don't think that's true. I think that he just doesn't particularly care to be out there on the front. He loses focus when he's out there by himself. He just runs better when he has a target to sort of run after. And, also I think it's fair to say that the track at Saratoga, especially in these dirt routes, has been not playing as kind to speed as it historically has been. I think that the track maintenance crew is trying to tighten up the track. I heard they were adding some clay to it this week. So I'm expecting to play a little bit tighter, a little more traditional Saratoga where speed's more likely to carry. So I'm willing to give him another shot, especially if I get 8-1. But with that being said, my pick is certainly Epicenter in here. I think he's the best horse in the race. I do understand the take about the figs have plateaued a little bit on him. I guess that depends on what figs you look at. I mean, Brisnet seems to show him improving, but Time Form and Thoroughgraphs both show him as plateaued in his last couple of starts. For me, though, kind of what my eyes tell me is this is a horse that is still extremely talented and still has some upside left. My only concern here is that I'm terrified of what Rosario is going to do. I think the worst thing that happened to this horse is that he won the Louisiana Derby off the pace, and then Rosario decides that he can do his favorite thing and take this horse way farther back than he has any business being. And maybe you're good enough to overcome that in a 4-horse field in the Jim Dandy, but in an 8-horse field or a 9-horse field, I don't know. Things can happen. We saw the Preakness, there's no doubt who the best horse was, but we saw what happened to Epicenter, and I am really afraid that could happen again. So we'll see. He's the best pick here, but I think that's the way. If Epicenter loses, I think it's because he gets too far back from a passive ride by Rosario.
Yeah, I have no idea what kind of ride Rosario is going to give on this horse. It's like I don't know. It's like opening up one of those. It's like opening up a loot box in a video game or something. You're like, I don't know what I'm gonna get, but more than likely, it's not gonna be worth shit. Even with that, I just think Epicenter is the best horse in this race by a mile. I tried to make the case for early voting, but I just don't there's no other pace in this race really.
I think if you look at that last work by Ain't Life Grand, they're gonna go. I mean, nobody runs a 45-second bullet just for shits and giggles. I mean, they're gonna send this horse, and so that's kind of that's the only argument I think you can make for early voting, which is another horse is going to go to the lead.
Yeah, I just have a really, really just sinking suspicion that there's just not going to be a ton of pace in this race. And I think that someone had posted in here that that it doesn't matter with Epicenter, that it could be fast, it could be slow, that either way, it's just, he's going to be fine. And I really do think that a slow pace actually kind of helps Epicenter because it lessens the chance of Rosario to end up 8 lengths off the front end if it's slow enough. So I don't know. I really think that Epicenter is going to be super, super tough to beat in this spot. I think he's the best 3-year-old. I think that he's I'll probably end up betting him in the Classic, assuming right he should have the points to get there, or he'll get an invite there, even if he doesn't win this race. I have a real hard time getting around the Epicenter, and I tried to make a case about kind of going back to the well on Cyberknife, but I just don't think this is the price on Cyberknife. And looking overseas, Cyberknife is your second choice by real clear. I would be more likely to take a shot on a horse like early voting, possibly running them off their feet than anything else. But I think Kayla brought up some good points about how speed's kind of been playing, not exactly the best. It just hasn't been golden. But I don't know. Maybe they soup the track up for Travers Day. Maybe something else. Maybe something else happens. Someone even mentioned that, hey, if Jack Christopher comes back and runs his eyeballs out and wins, hey, maybe that moves Cyberknife up a little bit. I don't know, but I just have a hard time getting around anybody but Epicenter in the spot.
Anybody have any interest in Artorias?
I was just about to ask that.
I was just going to ask the same thing.
What'd you think of that horse, man?
Very impressive effort at the Curlin, obviously, but I do think there's a question of like, how good was that field? And especially considering what we saw out of Creative Minister at Parks this week, arguably the worst, most poorly mismanaged horse out there right now. So that's my only concern. I think a super talented horse, 9-2. I have a feeling, I don't know if this is going to be the wise guy horse or not, but I have a feeling this horse is going to take money. And so I just don't really like if this horse gets bet down any more than that. Just not quite my appetite. So that's why I'd rather go with something that's a little bit more of a short. If I'm going to try to play against Epicenter, which is the whole point, and I agree with everything you all said about Epicenter, but if I'm going to try to go against him, I'm going to try to go against him with a horse that at least has a pretty solid track record of turning in solid performances. And so against pretty legitimate fields. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts. Mark, what are yours?
No, very similar to yours. I know Chad's on record saying that he thinks this is his sort of best chance to win the Travers in quite some time. It's sort of the hype horse. My real concern with Artorias is a lightly raced horse. I don't really know what's there. Horse that I don't know what the upside is, but man, this is the deep end of the pool, and I just this is a huge step up. Interesting horse. I think for me, it's not this time. If he beats me, he beats me, and I'm okay with that. There's a price, but I'm worried that he's going to actually end up taking money off that morning line just off from he's kind of. I hear him. I hear it a lot, and he seems to be the wise guy horse. And 2 weeks ago, people were telling me, "Oh, Chad's got this monster, and he's really lightly raced, and he's up and coming." And when I hear that kind of thing, I get really scared because those horses end up short, and I can find value other places. So I think in this spot, if he beats me, he beats me. I'm okay with it. But not for me.
Much like Happy Jack, I'm curious, are we going to take any bets on where Rich Strike finishes in this race?
Who does he beat?
Yeah.
How far back does he finish?
I was going to say, do we want to do lengths? Do we want to do, how many? I mean, is there any chance, I guess, do any of you see him hitting the superfecta?
I could see him filling out the bottom of the superfecta, sure. I don't know. I don't necessarily know what he is as a horse yet. Like he won a Derby that was absolutely the most suicidal pace duel we've had in 20 years on the front end. And the race completely came apart and he picked off, a bunch of really tired horses, then a race that totally fell apart. I don't really know what he is quite yet. And he's an interesting outsider. And I guess he probably shouldn't be an outsider. He won the Derby, but I still just don't feel like I know what he is. Didn't really show much in the Belmont. He had every right to bounce to the moon there. He's been freshened. Let's see what the workout reports come back with him. He's a horse I really want to like. Small time connection, small time trainer. Eric Reed has a lot of starts, but small time at this sort of level of horse racing. Mm-hmm. There's a price where he's interested. I just don't quite know what that price is.
It's not 10-1, I'll tell you that.
No, he doesn't have the super. No. He's got no chance at the super.
Does Rich Strike, is he... The Kentucky Derby is not a win and you're in for the Breeders' Club Classic, is it?
No, it is not.
No.
I'll tell you, man, one place I would be interested in seeing Rich Strike is in the Classic with 12 or 14 horses. Then, hey, we'll talk about clunking up in the superfecta there because he would pass some tired horses, I think, in that kind of race. But I think he's like your poor man's Code of Honor. He's going to need a pace setup to do anything, and the way the way a lot of these races have shaped up over the summer, I mean, he's just not going to get the pace I think that he needs to have something just completely melt down in front of him and him to pick up the pieces. You know, I think that winning I understand that everyone's going to talk about how fluky it is to win the Kentucky Derby. You know, it takes a heck of a lot of it takes a good horse to even like make the gate. And I mean, just that's going to be just a performance of a lifetime for the horse. So like, you obviously don't want to just like absolutely trash the horse or anything like that. But you know, Marissa Tomei also did win an Oscar for
her magnificent performance in My Cousin Vinny. Thank you very much, Marissa Tomei.
So
an American fucking icon.
Congratulations to Marissa Tomei. I mean, Rich Strike. Oh God, but. Hey, she was good in The Wrestler, right? Didn't she win an Oscar for that?
Yeah, she was great in The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. Yeah.
There's another movie reference there for you, Caleb.
There you go.
Look at that, you got two of them. But yeah, no, I mean, I just don't think 10-1's the price. I think you get longer than 10-1. To be honest with you, I can't see the Saratoga crowd betting this horse down to less than like 14 or 15-1. So I think you need 25-1. To bet this horse, and you basically need Epicenter and Cyberknife and Artur. You need like a four horse pace like duel, I think, for him to do anything here. But like if he clunks up for third, like I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm surprised, like because he's probably gonna be passing, you know, a bunch of tired horses, and it's probably gonna be two horses on the front end running away with it. So, but. I'll take the under on 6 lengths.
Over, way over.
I'll
take the over
too. I'll take the over.
Man, I should have said it higher.
I'll take under.
All right, well, there you go. 2 and 2. So we'll see who wins.
2 and 2.
All I know is that Cyberknife can't win this race.
Oh God!
And even if he does win this race, he can't win this race. So.
That's exactly right.
Steve,
If Cyberknife wins this. Oh, so if Cyberknife wins this, Josh is going to have to redo Caleb's little intro with Cyberknife.
I don't have to buy another hat.
Yeah, have to buy another hat. Steve will send you another shirt.
The hats will just appear.
Steve asking what the middle pick 5 thinks he pays over under 3K, which is the pick 5 that we kind of covered here, ending a race
under
11.
well under. I would think it probably pays under $1,000.
I just don't think there's the horses. I don't think there's the horses to really spur a big payout.
Yeah. When you need a payout, you need people you need prices that are uncovered, horses that people are not using. There's no race in here where there's a horse that I go, oh, I think that horse has a big shot of winning that is not going to be covered by the general populace. There's too many, shallow fields. I just can't see it. I think it probably pays under $1,000.
Yeah, I think that 7th race where it was pretty wide open. I think people are going to approach it like that, and I think people are going to spread pretty wide in that race. So, to your point, it's not going to be very uncovered, and everything else is pretty logical. And I think I just can't imagine many people are going to be. I think people are going to try to play against Jack Christopher, so I think there's going to be a fair amount of play in that race as well. So, yeah, it's hard. I mean, somebody beats Jackie. Maybe I don't know, but hard to see it paying over 3,000.
Yeah, I think if you're saying over $3,000, you're saying either Jack Christopher and Epicenter lose, or you catch bombs in the races that everyone's going to spread in.
Yeah, I will say I think if you want if you're looking for a sequence that has a potential to pay over 3K, I think the early is a really good sequence. Couple maiden races in there that have some upside potential. Races that I want to be spready in, where other people are going to be ticket constrained price wise. So I think the specifically the race 1 through 5 pick 5 is the one that I think can pay the best.
All right. Let's see. Oh God.
To Ryan's comment about an all A type middle pick 5 where that sort of chalks out, I think high. I think this is one of those sequences that you want to play your A's 5 or 10x, and then the rest of your your saber tickets 1x. So I think there's a high chance that this is fairly chalky for the middle. How was that me taking defensive B? That was me slamming chalk.
He just wants to use a siren.
I know he just wants to use this cool little board. Yeah,
I know you've been like relatively thin.
He doesn't want to get sirened so bad. He's taking 30 to 1s and
he's taking 30 to 1s, and like it's like I get a soundboard, and then all of a sudden it's just like whatever. I do see Chase likes, I think he likes Cyberknife, but I think he prefers to refer to him by his Christian name.
Yeah,
which is Taint Samurai. But yeah. He's got a real hard on for the soundboard. Dude, I paid a lot of money for this thing, all right? let me use it. Matthew, thank you so much for hopping on with us. This has been a long time coming. I know for the longest time we didn't do the guest thing because we had so many. We had 5 of us, and it was always just like tough handling that. But since Chase decided to pack up his hobo stick and walk down the street, and Brian has decided to retire to become a professional disc golfer, we've been rotating in some people. So we'll definitely have you on again, maybe closer to Breeders' Cup, and we'll do something. So we appreciate you having you on.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on. I wrote to Josh, and this is honest to God true. When I started, started making my own content and getting involved with horse racing Twitter, getting on your guys' show was my number one goal, because I always thought you guys were the 3, 4 or 5 smartest guys I was listening to, and always enjoyed your show, always held all of you in the highest respect. So I joked when Josh asked me on, I was like, I feel like I've made it. Like, I feel like I can just close my Twitter account now. I don't need to do this anymore.
Josh shared your comments, and we were all a little concerned.
But it is funny though, because when I had my own show, I interviewed Josh. He was one of my first guests, and I remember he talked to me about Joel Rosario and how he has this like love-hate relationship with Joel Rosario. And when in the Jim Dandy, I was watching it alone in my place, and I just started cackling in the going into the first turn, and I actually just cried out Josh's name. I was like, "Oh, Josh is gonna love this," and just because it's like, "Oh, yep, the Rosario's just making up his own plan, just going to the back and like whatever." So it just so I always love your guys' content, and just really appreciate having the chance to be on. Always look forward to talking to you guys about horses.
Awesome. Where can people find you and the stuff you're doing right now?
Yeah, so people can find me on Twitter at the handle @FailedToMenace, which is my favorite horse racing note. And I'm actually going to start a show starting next week under the Trust the Profits page. And if you guys want to check it out, it's called Countdown to Keeneland. And so it's going to be kind of weekly updates on the win and you're in races, recapping what happened the week before, previewing the races, not just here in North America, but overseas as well, that's taking place. And then also just providing some news about which horses are shipping over, things like that, who we can expect in some of those turf races in particular come Keeneland in November. So excited to be doing that.
Awesome.
Nice.
Very cool. Caleb, what do you got going on this weekend? Anything?
No, I'm probably just going to be hanging around here. I mean, it's Travers, so like I'll be involved with a lot of the Saratoga card all weekend, really. But nothing too special, just hanging out. And then I guess we're trying to stream Saturday morning.
Yes, we are. We'll be live Saturday morning. I got to figure out what time, because I know it's like they're going to start first posted like at the ass crack of dawn. So we might do a half hour.
11:30, but for Josh, that.
Wait, 11:30.
I was gonna say I didn't think it was that early, but I didn't think we were over in Ascot. It's like
it's 10:30 Central. It's 10:30 Central, so that is the ass crack of dawn.
Still not the ass crack of dawn, actually. People are done with brunch.
Well, all right. Looks like we're doing 9:30. Looks like we're doing 9:30 a.m. stream on Saturday. So I'll get that scheduled and posted, and We'll talk some Travers Day. We'll maybe probably take a look at the early a little bit. Take a look at any of the changes we got. See, and revisit any of the stakes races if we got anything else there. Mark, what do you got going on this weekend?
Trying to decide still if I want to be on track for Travers. It's always a bit of an adventure. If you've ever been to Saratoga on a Travers day, 50,000 people. It's a lot of people in a little space, and not to disgrace any of our viewership, but a lot of Northern Jersey migrates to Saratoga for that, and it's not the most enjoyable crowd. So still trying to decide if I want to be on track, but oh God, ouch, ouch. That's brutal.
That was our number one follower.
Yeah, shout out to Dennis Trusty.
Shout out to Dennis.
But yeah, and I'll hopefully try to make this stream our Saturday morning thing.
Cool. Well, we'll be live. It sounds like we're gonna be live at 9:30 in the morning Central, 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. And like I said, we're doing our little Saturday morning starting gate. We'll be coming back at you guys again next Thursday. Next week is Pacific Classic week, right?
It is.
Yeah.
So So next week we'll probably be a little bit more Del Mar heavy. I think it's closing weekend for Saratoga, but we'll try and take a look at some Del Mar. I've actually probably played as much, if not more, Del Mar than Saratoga, and they've done a lot better at Del Mar. But I feel like they've had a really good product. They don't have as many stakes races as like Saratoga, I think, does. But just I think their day in and day out product has been really good betting wise. So it'll be fun to talk about that a little bit next week. And I'm sure Ryan, Ryan's already.
I'm sure he's counting down.
Yeah, I'm sure Ryan and Nick Feldman will be excited since I know they love playing that West Coast stuff. So yeah. But you can catch us at ontherwronglead.com. I've been posting some Monday blogs up there. Like I said, we're going to be putting some more written content up there. Check us out on Twitter at @wrong_lead. Obviously, youtube.com/ontherwronglead. If you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe, as that helps us out. If you haven't yet, sign up for AM Wager. You get a nice deposit match up to $300 for new accounts. We have a link in the description below. And I will leave you with a tale of heartbreak. What if I told you that the perfect man did exist, but he was cursed? I mean, he's just a complete handicapper. East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. Might be the best I've ever seen. He could be the best looking guy in all of horse racing. I mean, he gives Matt Bernier a run for his money. I mean, we all saw it. He was minding his own business, walking back from the bathroom. Hottest girl in the bar just grabs him and says, "Reel me in." Turns out you can't always be that lucky, though.
Zulu Alpha charges up the rail under Tyler Gaffleon and takes the lead late. Zulu Alpha wins the Pegasus World Cup Turf.